Hi everybody, my name is Adam and today we will be using epoxy to cover up the clay figures that I made today. And all you will need is something to put them on or rest them. I like to use foil just because it comes off a bit easier. And then something to mix it in that you're okay with using. I like to use anything from like fast food. And then your epoxy, of course, and your figures right here. I like to use clay, and you gotta make sure to have gloves because you do not want to touch or smell this stuff. And that's why I'm outside actually. So yeah, let's get started. The longest part about this is having to mix this. It does say to use equal parts of part A and part B solution, and I like to just use the caps to measure it pretty much. So we'll start by putting on our gloves. All right, get everything nice and ready. And I have about 5 little clays that I made right here. They're not too big, so we won't need that much of this product. I've learned that. I actually used too much, and it pretty much all gone to waste. It just dried and hardened by itself. So it doesn't matter which one you start with, but for this one right here, since everything's so small, I'm pretty sure I'll only need about 3 of these like little lids of each one. I'll probably have more than I should by the end, but now, when doing epoxy, what I've learned is that you do want to be pretty accurate with measurements. That way the solutions do what they need to, which is to pretty much bond together, and then they'll harden over, depending on how thick the layer is of epoxy. It takes about a day to dry. I do pretty clear coats. Like, I only put a thin layer over it. So after a day, it's normally pretty good. Now, one thing I did actually forget at the beginning of this video was to grab some paper towels. I normally like to do that. That way, any more residue that's over the lids, I could just wipe and it doesn't go over the bottom when I put it back. So I'll go ahead and get the paper towels real fast. And this one should come out a lot faster. So out of the two bottles, both of them are liquids, but one of them is pretty thick. That one's the one I just did. And this one right here is actually, it runs pretty fast. So I'll get this one done real quick. Also, I'm not too sure if I mentioned this inside the video, but with this epoxy stuff, I looked it up before I actually started using it, which is, thank God. I found out that not everybody, but quite a few people have had some mild reactions to it with just breathing it in or just touching it. So here's what we have right here. And the box says to mix it for 4 to 5 minutes. So here we go. This is actually the longest part about this. I don't know if you could see it. It's pretty much, it's getting a little bit more milky or whatever. But pretty much when working with this stuff, you do not want to breathe it in at all, because some people have had some pretty mild or extreme reactions to it. That's why I'm working outside. That way, if I'm even getting just a little bit of like the smell's really strong, then I'll just hold my breath until it goes away. And you do not want to be like putting it up right here above your face or below your face, or else the smell is just going to be right there. Another thing is that the reason why I'm wearing gloves is because some people have actually, whenever like they touch this kind of stuff, they've actually like broken out in hives or rashes. So you want to make sure to be very safe when working with this. Now when you're mixing this right here, you see how it has like it's not that clear yet. From my point of view, there's lots of bubbles right now, but after about a few more minutes of mixing it, most of the bubbles will go away. And then if you want the bubbles to be out of here, you just let it rest for like 1 or 2 minutes, and most of the bubbles should rise up after you're done mixing it. But to be honest, that doesn't really matter whenever you're doing like smaller projects like what I'm doing, where all you need to do is like put a little gloss over whatever you're doing. And another thing too I like about this epoxy is that I'll show you the figures once I'm done mixing, but I like it really makes like the colors pop, and it has a nice shine to whatever you're putting on. And for me, I'm doing clay, and I'm just using acrylic paint to paint over it once it dries up, and it does a nice job at like protecting what I'm making, and it gives it a little bit more durability too. So that's why I like using this stuff right here. I'll go ahead and show you what it looks like from my point of view. Pretty milky still. Yeah. What I like about this too, the epoxy that I'm using, is that I'm pretty sure it's all of them, but you don't need for this to like sit out in like a like, you don't need the fan to be hitting this for it to dry. I put actually a cup over something I was testing, and no air was hitting it. It was pretty warm inside the room, and the reason why I put the cup over it was because I didn't want the smell coming out. And I actually found out that this stuff just hardens over, like, I guess when you stop moving it. So that's another good thing about epoxy too, is that you and actually it prefers like warmer areas, and it actually dries faster compared to just leaving it like inside a room with AC on or something like that. It will probably take longer. Okay, that should be a little over 5 minutes. Now, like I said, for me, it doesn't really matter if it has so many bubbles in it, because I'm just gonna pretty much put like or dunk them in there and like do like a clear little coat. I'll make sure that any excess epoxy, that what happens is I'll just hold on to it until it is off of there. So here's my little mixer. I want to make sure to put that just here on the side. First thing I'll do is a little brain I did. Probably just looks like a little thing of chewed up bubble gum, but now the reason why I like to just dunk it in there, compared to, I see a lot of other people just using like a paintbrush or something like that, but I just like dunking them in there because I feel like it gets everywhere, every little crack. It doesn't, you know, it won't be pretty much neglected. But already, I don't know if you can see it. You see that shine off of it already? I'm just gonna make sure that all whatever will drop off does. That way we don't have too much freaking whatever's left on here. All right, and we'll just put it right here. That's it. And it doesn't really matter either. And if you're dunking them in here too, you'll might feel the epoxy warm up. That's perfectly fine. It's just starting to harden a little bit. Now, I didn't show you this one right here, but this is actually BMO from Adventure Time. I'll show you it when when all this stuff settles off of my glove right now. There it is. Now, the reason why I said you don't want that much residue off of or on these figures is because when they dry, depending on how they rest, they'll have like a thick layer of epoxy on bottom, and that could be good if you want like a figure or something that you're putting the epoxy over to stand up. But I've learned if there's too much at the bottom, you'll have to like cut it off somehow, unless you don't really mind for it to be thicker around the edges. But yeah, here's My Melody from Hello Kitty 2. But yeah, I tried using a X-Acto knife and other ways to like take off like a real thick epoxy, and because I'm using clay, even though it dried, getting the clay wet again, it pretty much the epoxy is super stuck to the whatever you put it to, and since clay is so fragile, like trying to pull it away from it, what it does, it actually takes off the top layer of clay for me. So you want to be very careful, and I like to not not be so generous with the epoxy, just because I know for sure that this is more than enough, so I'm not skipping out on it. But also, you don't want it to freaking be dripping off of there, and you'll just have a layer of epoxy on the bottom. It looks pretty cool for like a little stand, but unless you're just going for the figure, then I would try to get off as much as you can. Now, if anyone's doing this along with me, it's kind of hard to focus on this and like holding your breath to make sure that you don't touch this stuff. Here's Gunther from Adventure Time 2, and my hands are pretty what's it called, full of epoxy still, so I'm just pretty much getting what's left off of my glove, that way I don't have to dunk them in. And that's one of the nice things about how I'm doing it, compared to doing it slow with a paintbrush. All right, he's all glossened up. I'll put him right here. All right, and the last one is just like little flowers or whatever. Now this is my last little clay figure that I've got. So after I'll set these down, I'll show you what I have, what I'm going to put them in. That way, since I'm doing this outside, I don't want like a bunch of dust or like bugs to get on them and stuck on them. that would suck. So I actually have like a little box I put them in. And yeah, so what I'm doing is making sure that they stay nice and pretty much dirt free. And like I said, they don't need no air for it to harden. So that's one thing that I've learned and I loved about epoxy. Here it is. I'll put it down right here. I'll take off the gloves, that way I don't have to touch this stuff anymore, and I'll show you what they'll be in for about a day. Now, if it takes a little bit longer than a day, don't worry about it. You can always just let it sit for 2 days, and that should make it super hardened. All right, so I have this little toolbox that I like to put them in and cover it up. That way they won't ever get any dust on them. So here I go. Alright, now I'll just cover it up, leave them out here for a day, and when I come back they all should be done. And like I said, I knew for sure I would have like lots more than I probably should have made, but yeah, I'll just wipe this up in my glove right here, like scoop it out, and then I'll use this cup again. That way don't lose that bottom layer, and that's how I use epoxy. So just make sure, be careful, don't breathe in like a lot of it, and make sure you wear gloves, don't touch it. It feels like a little kid's project, but you got to make sure not to get on yourself, or else it could be bad in the future. But other than that, yeah, enjoy.